everybody. My name is Chloe Hudson with World Peace Project. Thank you so much for joining me. Hi, Soul Schooling. How are you guys? So this is my second attempt. I did a video yesterday and went to publish it, and it was deleted. Wah, wah, wah. So I will try to filter my verbiage, unfortunately. And today we're going to talk about consciousness swiping, code siphoning, and a slew of other topics. So thanks so much for joining me. Let me know you can hear me. I got some thumbs up. I'm pretty sure you can. Excellent. Okay, so I'm just also going, hi, Christiana. Going to be kind of looking at my list and also trying to figure out how to shift the verbiage that of things I want to say. So, okay, so the first thing I guess let's talk about is in regard to code siphoning. We talked last video about dream time. Hi, Elmer, how are you? Dream time handling, ramping up. And most of us know that at this point, we are preparing and understanding that things are going to continue to escalate, things are accelerating. And this is on both planes. This will be in the acceleration of our awareness and opening into our truth, our origins, our energetics, which is awesome, high five, and the acceleration of the controllers countering. So it's a part of the game. It's the way it's set up, right? So we're seeing that acceleration right now, and we're working diligently to, level up and counter. So dream time hacking is at an all-time high, and it's very important at this point to have your tools and be utilizing them. So, I know that I remind you guys often, though, there's no more wiggle room for the disassociation or cognitive dissonance of knowing what assists, though not applying it. If we want to assist ourselves and protect our consciousness and the consciousness of humanity and this planet, we need to move forward and be utilizing the tools that we have and assisting ourselves. So I'm going to remind everybody, and I've already linked below in the messages, the I do not consent PDF that you're welcome to download for free. That is a very comprehensive example of how to be activating your revocations and anchoring your authority. You can take that document and grab snippets that work for you and utilize that before you go to sleep and after you wake up. So this Saturday, I'm going to be doing week 1 of my 4-week Dream Interpretation Astral Projection course. If you'd like to join, please feel free to join us. You can schedule that at jupitersoundscape.com/workshops-1. It's going to be a really fun course, and we're going to be doing group activities to understand how to interpret and understand dreams. We're going to do breakout groups, and then I'll also be teaching you how to astral project or to assist yourself to up-level your abilities of astral projecting, what to do, what not to do, all of that good stuff. So we'd love to have you this Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard on Zoom. So, doing your revocations and clarifying your sovereignty daily is imperative at this point. I'm going to reiterate this example in the course. So I want to tell you guys a story of what my neighbor shared with me. He's 20 years old. He's not metaphysical. He's in tuned. He's aware, like most younger people are. And he told me, he said, Chloe, I have to tell you about my dream. I had a dream within a dream. It was inception. So I'm going to put my words into it. He didn't know what exactly was happening, but I'm aware when he tells me. So his story goes that he's in a dream, which is basically a video game. He's a character in a video game. He's inside of a nuclear power plant, and he's fighting off waves of robots. Okay? Then he wakes up out of that dream into another dream. So what that means is that video game dream is actually a holographic insert to cover the real dream. So he pulls himself out of that holographic insert, that overlay, and then he finds himself in a chair in his old house, you know, like when it's yours, but it's not, you know, the person, but it's not them, that kind of thing. Sitting in a chair, he looks down at a glass, an empty glass, and he says, something's wrong. I know my memories are gone. I can't figure it out what's happening. I've drank something in this glass. I don't know where I am or why I'm here. And then he sees his old roommate, which isn't really his roommate. And that's always a tell when you think it's them, but they look different or something. You're being imposed to believe it's that person or that place or whatnot. And he says to his roommate, he says, what's happening? Why am I here? And the roommate says, don't worry about it. And waves of people dressed very gothic, very odd, all ages are fleeing out of what used to be his room. He leaves the apartment and he's scrambling, he's searching in his dream. What happened? Where did my memories go? And he remembers in the dream that that roommate had given him the drink. After he drank it, that's when he realized that he lost all his memory. But it was important what had happened, though he couldn't remember it. And then he woke up. So that's a prime example of a very handled experience in dream time where they got him to agree by ingesting the drink. He went to work and did whatever it is he did, talked to whoever he talked to, and then his memories were swiped. And then to double up on that mind swipe, they added in a holographic insert, another layer, which thankfully his consciousness pulled him out of through lucid dreaming. So these types of experiences, that's just one experience of a slew of things that are happening dream time that are very important to start having awareness of what's going on in fourth density and how you can assist yourself even when you're not fully in alignment or aware consciously of what you're doing in fourth density. You can counter this by being prepared with alternative moves, what may happen in activate your protections through your revocations, your grounding your energy, doing your shadow work, all of these things. So that's a very important piece around starting to understand that it's really imperative at this point. Every night before you go to bed, do your revocations, do your declarations. When you wake up, revoke and clear out anything that may have happened in that dream time so that any sneakery that's trying to be imposed upon you gets cleared out of your consciousness and your agreements, okay? I'll know at this point that it's about us knowing the laws of the universe and the rules of the game, implementing that in a way where we command our authority and own our consciousness and take back command through integrating our shadow aspects so that those manipulation techniques don't they don't work. Hi, Sun Green. Hi, Shining Star. Thank you so much for joining me. Sun Green says relevant in many dimensions. Interesting. Absolutely. It's happening multidimensionally. So this is also a way where we can start to see how the holographic reality works because those experiences are very real. And if we're still in a place where we are entrained and indoctrinated to believe that dream time or imagination isn't real, it's just a construct of our psyche filtering, which is a part of it, though the fourth density, the other densities are very real. They just are not as necessarily matter in form as this third density. And that is often more real than this experience that we're having, especially as the progression goes, where the virtual reality programming is bleeding through more and more, interfacing and overlaying our more organic experience. Okay, so that was one thing I wanted to talk about, and you guys feel free to ask your questions or make your comments, though please take care around any keywords that might trigger algorithms, because at this point, I've had 2 videos that were immediately deleted. So, you know, we're in that boat, right? Okay, another thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't know how to say this without saying it, so I guess I'll say it this way. The prosperity funds, the proper governmental term around this for the national implication and the global implication in the debt jubilee, if you guys know what I'm talking about, is also something I wanted to bring back up, because we've talked about this before, and a lot of you guys know what I'm speaking of. And unfortunately, maybe I'll leave it in the comments after the fact so that you can get real clear on what I'm saying if you don't know. Though I want to reiterate, because there may be some newcomers here or people who haven't seen those videos. So that act implemented through law during the Clinton administration, it waves in a Illuma latte. I'm going to use the words of probably Alexandra, because she's come up with her fun keywords to divert the algorithms, that the Illuma latte is backing. The Chinese elders is supposedly sitting on that financial prosperity, all that gold backing or whatever. And that waves in, apparently, that agenda to bring through a debt jubilee and global, it'll start nationally in the US, national prosperity, then global prosperity. And that will absolutely be something that you will be opting into if you decide, if you want to take on those prosperity funds. And you will very clearly give very specific agreements. It will wave in what people like to call the golden age and this kind of time of abundance and all of this. Though I want to reiterate that we've gone over that before, and there's a lot more very specific info around that. I would advise watching probably Alexandra's video on this, and I'll post a link on that below. You guys just help me remember that when it comes to the alignment with spirit, when we start to get really clear that the controller groups are two sides of the same coin. This is a sibling rivalry. This is like a family sibling rivalry, and then all of these other players and groupings and species that also want to get their piece of the pie, that align in different ways and are making affiliations. The spirit path, the true origins of your quantum, your born right, all that you are as universal existence. In this plane, in this matrix experience, becomes very, very narrow. And the further along we go, the more narrow it gets. So when that experience waves in, that will be a very clear awareness of how narrow it starts to get, because that is very enticing, that much abundance to support you financially for the rest of your life, apparently, will be extremely enticing to most, especially when they start to squeeze us even more. So I just want to clarify again, of course, this is all my perspective, take what you want, leave the rest, that when that experience comes to fruition, that it is in alignment with Illuma latte. It is not the spirit aligned path. There is an indoctrination and very multi-density scalar agreements that will be implemented in with that. Okay, so another thing I wanted to bring up, which is so important. Okay, so we get, right, that this is a holographic reality moving into, they're pushing for more of a virtual reality experience. The different predictive programming we've talked about so many times before of, when you're watching media, how destructive it's become at this point in entertainment and even music and all of these things, that they're familiarizing you with the timelines that they're desiring to create. And those plausible experiences are becoming anchored into experiential knowing through viewing, through witnessing into your consciousness, which gives more ground for that to anchor into physical experience. That level of handling is very, very dangerous at this point. I'm just going to say it this way. We have our responsibilities to level up and show our light. I wanted to image is kind of like a girl going topless, like, here I am, I'm here for the world to see, I don't care what you think about it. It's like we got to expose ourselves for how we truly align and hold with that and shine with that, because all of us that have activated and are aware of our consciousness, our prime experience, our real experience, our frequency, that we are exponentially holding levels of energetics that counter mass numbers of the NPCs and the backdrops and the matrix programming of the flesh vessels that are walking around, you know, just doing what the programming has them do, right? So one of us counters so many of those. And in that way, we have our own responsibility, if we choose to step more into our creator role, to uphold that, which means, again, going back to that understanding of the narrow path and registering that by, I'm not saying you have to do this, I'm just saying that this is a part of it. If you're absorbing and watching these shows and listening to that music and all of these things, on some way you're making an agreement to take it in, to allow it to exist. And it's programming the mass consciousness and, you know, global agreements around what may play out in timelines that are even welcomed or allowed or people are open to witnessing. So remember the ultimate grounding foundational agenda of the tele-vision. It's very, very important. And at this point, it's so obvious with so much of the predictive programming that they're really steering it just so blatantly now, right, to the virtual reality system. Just straight uploading of our consciousness after they've siphoned our coding and, you know, done the hacking, uploaded into the new servers and brought on the whole new matrix, which is what we're watching at this time. So take care with what you choose to consume, because that is a agreement that you're making, and that's how we're also representing how we choose to show up in this experience. EO says, how do you see the real spiritual oath unfolding with the originals? So in regard to, you know, what I term the originals, if you're talking about the primes and the mechas, it's high time for us to get very clear on our authority. And that's a great way for me to bring into, as I always talk about with you guys, the extreme importance, yes, the primes, okay, of doing your shadow work, guys. I'm always going to push that, because for any of us that are aware of this information, if we don't have access to our own spirit, our own ability to connect and communicate and have knowing, then we need to double down and get clear. We need to keep peeling off these layers to access our spirit so that we don't need the external information sources. We don't need to access outside of self to know and to be clear and to be guided. And that will never shift. It's always going to be like that. This is how we've, you know, agreed through soul grouping to come in and experience. We've, you know, made soul grouping agreements to opt into a mind swipe reality inverted matrix experience where we have to scramble and remember self. This is also the timeline. This is the timeline to piece back all your soul fragments, do all the integration work you can, because this experience that is unprecedented on a multiversal level, what we're experiencing right now. I mean, you know, when I think about like getting tickets to this show, we had to fight and grapple for those, right? Because this is like, all eyes are on us. I'm talking multiversal, right? Because this timeline is, pardon me, and my roommate's going to leave, so you're going to hear a truck for a second. This timeline plays out what rolls out, mushroom clouds out for the entire Infini-Verse. We're not just talking about fight for humanity here. We're talking about fight for consciousness, for spirit and quantum. We are head to head, which is something that we love, which is why we're here, with, you know, what we like to term the B system, which is an anti-life AI hacking system that siphons and takes because it can no longer produce the free energy of quantum. And it's working to create its own experience, its own anti-verse, so it doesn't have to keep powering up through our quantum in the same way. So that's what we're up against. And we're game for the fight, because this is also something that we have been creating and experiencing for infinite lifetimes. You know, we're at a mass graduation and we're putting all of us to the test. So you better believe it's high time to wake that DNA up, you know, and it will be awakening. Our awareness will be expanding exponentially as the counter will also be accelerating. But remember, it's all us. It's all about self-integration and knowing self and accessing truth within your being so that you own through and through that true authority, and you implement the laws of this verse so that they cannot sway you. And when they try, you come back with your organic truth of quantum and you stand your ground and you obliterate them. Because after all, you know, our organic parentage is the only thing that holds true authority. Though we have to own that, we have to know that, we have to have that experience in our being. So doing the shadow work above and beyond just understanding the quantum reality. This is beyond just understanding and having the information. We have to access the timelines and heal the trauma and do the pain. And we have to double down as fast as possible. And I highly, highly, highly recommend to do this with a professional as well as on your own time. I work with a couple different people, even though I know how to do this for myself. And I do this for myself because everybody benefits from a teacher and from somebody who has more of a crone experience. It's that much more efficient. I would love if you would love to work with me. It would be my honor. And in addition, or find somebody who can assist you to efficiently as possible integrate your soul fragments so that you have more access to spirit. And you're clear on that. You know and can read the frequencies and understand what's what. And that it's not something that's being handled. It's not telephony, false telepathy, or whatever. You know it's you, and you own your authority, and you can stand your ground. So Nick Marcus says, hi, what are you holding in your hand? Oh, this is a beautiful crystal that was gifted to me. I had a fabulous session with Lauda Leon of Sovereign Key, and she attuned this crystal to my frequency to assist me. So it's kind of my go-to. I'm sure I am transmitting something in my hand gestures, but I'm not consciously paying attention to it. That comes up from time to time. So I'm open to whatever that you guys read. EO, how many of us are here approximately in your opinion? That's a great question, EO. I don't know that. I don't perceive that the 144 experience is only a human number. I do think it has to do with a human number, though I also believe it has to do with our DNA. It has to do with our elemental template. It has to do, you know, macro to micro, right? It layers out so many things. It has to do with the galaxy and the universe. So I know that it's not a ton, though again, we don't need a ton. We hold so much more light. And we have to remember, as we've talked about before, the backdrops and the NPCs, let's not even be bothered with them, right? It's literally like a backdrop. Let them do their thing, go along with these funny little rituals that they're being led to do. That's okay. We don't even need to you know, put any energy towards that. And that one's important because as we work to integrate the duality and the separation consciousness experience, we release and move back into the allowance and the acceptance. And we understand that the experience of allowance is a direct reflection of quantum. You know, it's why we say resistance persists. The frequency of allowance is in alignment and attunement with your spirit. And that dissipates And we do begin to understand, which is going to be happening more and more, this experience of reckoning with self. And as we go into more of our shadow work and get into remembering, having true memories of our origin point, our exact birth moment of creation in a much more macro, universal, multiversal experience, whatever is your origin point, that initial polarity, duality experience, and how your entire existence has experienced and filtered out and family treed into the duality and played both sides, how it truly is all one. And we have to come back into a full integration of self so that we transcend the experience of the duality in this timeline. That's going to be very, very important. And so we're going to have to grapple with our own demons, right? Okay, Eo. And how long do you take us to awaken our DNA? I don't perceive that we will come back into full DNA activation in this timeline. Our DNA is awakening constantly. It's happening. This timeline, I don't believe by any means our DNA has the expansiveness in this density to fully open back up, nor do I think that's safe for most people to move back into their 12, their 24, their 48, their 72 in this inverted template. And there's so many impositions and transfigurations of the DNA that's happened in this template, in this biology, this version of the human, even the way that the DNA was pulled apart and then parts of it were put back together. I don't perceive that we'll be doing it here, nor do we need to or want to at that point, because first of all, I don't believe there's that much time left in this realm for that even to happen. And I don't know about you guys, but while it's really important for a lot of us to work at truly embracing this timeline, this humanity, even now, more and more, it's even more important at this point, which is kind of dichotomous, right? Because those of us that can see what's happening, and even if you're clueless, even if you believe the storyline that's being presented, it's not enjoyable, right? We don't like it. So it makes it that much more challenging for us to truly own this experience, anchor into this human body, really embrace that we chose to be here. We want to be here with this planet, having this experience, even with all the things we don't like. And that is pivotal in bringing through and activating your DNA as much as possible in this vessel. That's where the authority and the sovereignty comes in. Everybody's got their different thing. I tend to be and have always been somebody, because of the way I came in and my initial traumas, I've been way more ungrounded, way more. It's so much easier for me to have an open crown than, an open root chakra. And so that's probably a huge reason why I do what I do, because I'm just that much more open into the ethers, and I struggle and work to get back into my body. So that one's a big challenge for me, though I know that in order for me to get really clear on my sovereignty, I have to fully embrace this life, this timeline, this experience, this body, and get back in. And not just in, the conscious ways of embracing this experience, even when it sucks. It's me knowing that I have a slew of soul fragments and spirit and even consciousness hacking that's happened that I have to call back and reintegrate. So that was a pretty roundabout way to answer that question, Eo. I hope it answered it. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Britta. Can I still enroll in your dream class? Yes, please do. And I'll type in the website right now. Hi, Sage. I need to get strong in my spirit. Girl, you are getting strong in your spirit. How you doing? How you feeling? It's good to see you here. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to type in how you guys can sign up for that course. But again, it's jupitersoundscape.com/workshop. So Sorry, I'm a slow typer, y'all. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the children. This is something that's been coming up a lot. So it's really, really important for us to assist the kids right now. So, you know, it's always been, you're welcome, EO, my pleasure. The kids are constantly, you know, under the focal point of trying to be handled and accessed, right? They can get them young. A lot of us got that experience in the way we did. And I've had some really profound experiences with clients who are children or clients that have children lately. So I have, and I've mentioned him before, one of my dear friends who, you know, she works with me and her whole family. She has her whole family work with me. She has a 7-year-old autistic boy who I love working with. And he takes me to the Borg fields and he shows me lots of things. And through him, he's actually taught me so much of what's actually happening. And he showed me the uptake in the AI experiences through the Borg implementations. And if you guys don't know what the Borg is, you know, if you look at the cyborg representation in Star Trek, that is the symbol, that's the representation of the Borg. The Borg beings are a very, very, very ancient AI. They are AI consciousness. They have no access to emotions like a lot of these regressive races. And they work to siphon our codes. You know, the experience in the movie The Matrix where they're plugged in, you know, with the cords and the fields, that's Borg. So that level of hacking has, in my perspective, has leveled up big time, but is also more accessible to be viewed. And he shows me how they're doing it and how they're siphoning the consciousness in your codes. So another reason why not going along with the you know, we talked about the predictive programming, but in addition to that, I put out anybody who gets my e-newsletter, I put out an article a couple weeks ago on the dangers of consumerism and the spiritual implications of that as they are working to, you know, farm our data, to siphon our codes, to access these agreements, and to study and track everything that we do with algorithm is an exact physical representation of what's happening in these densities. They study and they even take your DNA sequences to work to mock up that whole anti-life verse so it can be replicated. And then when they siphon the consciousness, they upload it into the servers, which a lot of people right now are fully in. I mean, we're all in the Borg system, though many people are already completely uploaded on the virtual reality consciousness system. So when we go along with these algorithms, and you know, it's pretty obvious for a lot of us, even though we still use it, that social media is a complete project on studying, accessing all information, you know, getting the codes to recreate all of the nature, understanding the experiences that humans like and the emotional responses with relationships and all of these things. We just give it to them, right? So beware of that at this point. You know, if you haven't already felt the hacking that happens and the energetic siphoning through a lot of the applications or softwares or programs, then know that we are creating this experience. We're just handing it over. So, you know, again, the spiritual true path of quantum, of your truth, your organic origins in this timeline becomes very, very narrow, right? We have to check ourselves with these things that give us access, that give us these pleasures, which, you know, at this point, when it comes to everything virtual, you can't get around it. Even with like cookies, like take the time to unclick all of the targeting cookies and reach out to those applications and those programs and those websites and say, no, I don't consent to, you know, farming my data or mining or selling it. It's really, really important because these these are ways in which they're stealing consciousness. It's gone beyond just the studying of how we do things. They literally can get in and take your consciousness. And you need that consciousness, trust me. We need to protect it at all costs. So these experiences are very real. And be in the know. Do your work. Take back what's yours. Take it back. This isn't about getting, up in arms with the external controllers and stuff like that. It's about owning your authority and knowing what's yours, what can be taken and what can't be taken. Okay, I watched an up-leveling right now with Social Security, right? For those of us that aren't aware that Social Security, birth certificate, these things are a bond against your economic ability to produce and create income for whatever governmental system you've been bonded into. And so the ownership around those agreements and those barcodes on your person as your birthright, maritime law, different than your born right, origin law. There's been an up-leveling on the way in which they're implementing hacking and enslavement through that. And those things, those things that are happening that we can only really register if we're reading the frequency signature, or, if you're accessing astral space, or you just get the intuitive hit, is why, one huge reason why it's really, really important to be implementing these declarations and these revocations. So, that Dear Gov doc that I just stated, that I've put a link to it below in my messages here for free, download it, grab it, fill it out, do however you want to do it, send it to a random government office where you have listed all of the different government sectors that you choose to instate the declaration for. Send it to a random office so you're not called out and targeted by the specific office you want it to go, because you need to implement this into astral universal law. This doesn't have to be received on the physical plane by the exact person, that maybe oversees the government sector that you're gearing it towards, if that makes sense. You just want to get randomness in the government. You don't need to cause a lot of attention to yourself. When you sign this, sign it as per glossa, which is the official recognized way of inscribing the English language. Do it in all caps. Do not write in cursive. Put it in parentheses and a dot on either side outside of that parentheses. That redacts your name from the experience that you're saying, I do not consent. And, we got to get really clear on these types of things, because there's been so much since your birth that you have been opted into the enslavement inverted system. Okay, whatever. That's a part of our experience. Now it's time for us to take our responsibilities, to get clear and take back what's ours. Sage says, I'm not seeing the link. So when you click off in, like if you were to go to the video, and I have where I can write a message about it, it's in there. And I'll make sure when we get off that it took, but I'm pretty sure it's there. And I think I've sent that to you too, Sage, but anyhow, okay, so let's see what's next. Oh, the children. Sorry, I got off topic, guys. Okay, so the children. Now this is where I have to filter my words. Okay, so that autistic child that loves to take me on journeys and show me what's going on and show me, how I need to check on his family. He's 7. I think he's 7. He might have just turned 8 because he just had a birthday. His little brother is 5, maybe just turned 6. His little brother is also very in tuned, and his mom is so open about communicating with them about energetics. She's telepathic and communicates with her autistic boy as well. They have, telepathy is the way to communicate with autistic people who are nonverbal. Anybody who's nonverbal use telepathy. So she's tuned into that. They communicate a lot. And her younger son is very aware of energy. She talks openly about all of this. I talk to him. We have conversations. And he's little. He's young. And he's got tools in his belt. And he told his mom the other day that, Mom, my brother, he's got some entities on him. He needs to be cleared. And she says, oh, can you see who they are or what they are? And he says, yeah, they're the brother man. Okay, I'm going to use, again, probably Alexandra's words. And he used the proper word for that, right, that we use, but I can't say it. It's the brother man. She goes, oh, is it? Where'd you learn that word? He goes, I know lots of things, Mom. She never told him the name of that grouping, right? That one would be the right-hand path. and he told her, yeah, this is what I do. I take this tool, I've got this one, and I put the energy in a prism, and so he knows. He's got access to the awareness. The children are way more in tune than we think. They're also being targeted. So please, if you're a parent, if you're, around children, start teaching them and telling them and supporting that they already have access and that the energies that they see are real and how they can help themselves, how they can ground and run their energy, that they do have authority, that they do have sovereignty, that even though, people and adults want to entrain them and implement their authority and their belief of what's right onto them, they have their own independent authority. It's very, very important. Another client's child, she is 6, came back from school and said that one of her school friends told her that, and he's her age, said, you don't have power. You have to be given power and told what to do. And then he said some other disturbing things about some of the interdimensionals, how they're gearing towards children that I'm not going to share because there's no need to scare people. Though the point is, when I looked at that little boy's energy, he's already being targeted in a way where he's being shown information and told that he doesn't have power, that he has to be given the power and told. So that clear entrainment is really, really damaging. I told my client, I said, you tell your daughter she does have the power and that he's being told something that's inaccurate, and show her and help her thrive and know that she is spirit. She has so much access. She can protect herself. She can run her energy. They're so vibrant in their imagination. Their true access of alchemy. Most of us adults have been so entrained into believing that imagination is false. That's such BS. Our imagination is our access into our multi-density. It's very, very real. So, something that can support the children in a big way is my dear friend who I've been talking about with the 2 boys is Sue Sexton. She has a channel on YouTube. She is a psychotherapist. Her and I have created a course for children from ages like 5 to 12. It's a very interactive, fun, playful course that teaches kids about belief systems and their stories and how they can own their own truth and recognize when stories are being implemented onto them and they don't have to personalize. I will be launching that in the month if you guys are interested, because these types of lessons and learnings and support for the children are really, really important. And listen up to the kids. I've had several different parents come to me and tell me that their very, very young ones are telling them some things of what's to come. And it's right on point. So they're aware and they need to be supported in that so that they can also recognize when they're being hacked, and when things are being imposed onto them, because they have so much access to spirit in a way that you and I are probably scrambling to remember. Okay, Lauren says, I definitely want to do this. Lauren, what do you want to do? Sage says, okay, you got it. Great. Tracy, that's why they wanted to medicate the children. Absolutely. Absolutely. That get them young, fragment them young. That's what a lot of us have experienced and are, working so diligently to integrate our trauma and assist ourselves out of that. The kids are really, really powerful, and we have to protect them right now because, as the acceleration of the consciousness hacking and the mind swipes, they're just going to work to siphon those kids. And I don't know about you guys, but I had a slew of attacks when I was a kid. Man, I had all sorts of stuff happening. I had the shadow men come every night. I got pressed constantly. I had night terrors. The whole thing, abductions. Kids go through a tremendous amount of experiences that are very, very scary, especially the more powerful they are. And that needs to be supported, understood, received, and nurtured, and empowered. I'll tell you a great story about this was years ago. I had a friend call me up, and her daughter was, I'm gonna guess, 4-ish at the time. And I forget the name, but she used to call me a name, and I actually looked the name up because I never heard of it. And it was like an indigenous word in a tribe of Africa for mother. And I was like, oh, she's totally tapping into one past life or something. But she'd call me this name, which I loved. And then her friend said, my little girl, she's very scared. She won't sleep in her bed. She's having night terrors, and she talks about the monster. And so I went over to her house and I talked to her just for a few minutes. And I said, that monster, they may look scary, but they can't touch you. You tell them they can't be there. They're not allowed to be there, that you have the power. And I showed her how to activate her energy. And I said, you kick him out of there and you tell him he's not welcome, And so her friend calls me up a week later and said, well, we were getting ready for dinner and we'd already put my daughter to bed. And then I heard her yell out, you're not allowed. Leave this town. And then she said, she sleeps in her bed every night now. And I thought that was awesome. So the little girl just stood up for herself and she kicked that monster out of the town. And then she's good. So she took back her power. She believed in herself. And kids, they won't doubt the way that we might doubt it, right? So it's very, very powerful. Sage says, I had night terrors. I blocked a lot out of my childhood. Yeah. Well, we have such one reason why we don't have memories is it's a powerful self-protection mechanism, right? Okay. So let's just peek at my notes here so I can make sure I get to anything else. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is, so as we move forward in the mundane ways in which we can support how we align and show that we, want to stop things from happening. So examples, petitions that are coming out and ways that we can actually do some grassroots movements and assist. Please take care around, again, what you're signing, even if it's in good faith and you have an intention to support and assist. There was a recent petition created that was working to counter a certain act with a number that we all view as dark. So I'm going to say it. I don't want to say it because I don't want them to clip out the video. But a person who was pushing a very urgent agenda around it. And, beware of the frequency of alerts and urgencies. If it's in real time and something truly needs to be brought to your attention, then of course it's important to be alerted. Though if it's a constant push of urgency, that's a fight-flight response that does not assist any foundational support, right? That's not a way to build upon. So noting frequency signatures, that one's pretty blatant. So this person had presented this act that has been introduced into committee at this point. In the US, it's introduced, it's not passed. When it is passed, that's the time to act against it. But right now, they're reviewing. So they had created a petition that I'm sure it had great intentions around it, though unfortunately, it had a lot of inaccurate information. It claimed that this act was stating certain facts that were harmful, which was not the case. And unfortunately, because it wasn't clean and clear in the research and the truth around it, it really kind of put a damper on that movement being effective. So we want to take care and be efficient in the ways in which we choose to show that we do not consent. And it can be really quick. And I've done this plenty, especially, I mean, most of us, when this all started happening, we all went into panic, right? Because that's the natural response. Though, when we quick fire jump at something through urgency, we botch up. And we don't necessarily take a lot of time to get clear and make sure things are clear, they're factual, they're on point, and that frequency actually supports, and that's something that we should be opting into or agreeing. So just take care with that, because we want to be taken seriously. We want our desires and knowing and shows that we demand our freedom in certain ways to be held at an equal level in which they're working to counter that. So if we're pushing in ways of hysteria, of anger, of protest that might be violent, or that's just not true, whatever, we're not assisting. So I just wanted to note that, because that will continue to wave out, and all of us are aware that there's half truth, half lies, and we have to be clear on reading what's what. Okay, so Nicole says, hi, Chloe, is there going to be any positive outcomes in this lifetime timeline, or is it all going to be more tyranny, destruction, and intensity? It's a madhouse out there. I agree, Nicole. It's really easy at this time to move into the state of hopelessness. And while that is a very normal and acceptable response, that's the challenge. As we're having a graduation timeline where most of us, in regard to our entire existence, this is a mass graduation, okay? That means that the final exam, it's gonna be a doozy, okay? So we've been prepping for it, we've been studying, we've been doing our due diligence. Doesn't mean it's gonna be a breeze, might be painful, might last longer than we want it to, all of these things. But keep your eye on the prize, okay? Because this inversion has to collapse. This cannot continue. Whichever way that happens, this cannot continue. Tara, Gaia, she's on a reset path. It's the organic natural order. She always resets around this time period. Okay, so we're also moving into that. This is how I like to view it. Helps me. I don't know if it'll help you guys, and it's much more difficult, I'm sure, if you're a parent. I tend to view myself as not human, first and foremost. I tend to view myself as a multidimensional, multiversal experience. I like to view myself as spirit. And I see myself coming in through soul experiences to integrate into the human and be here in the now, having these experiences while I'm aware I'm having many other experiences. So it's easier for me to view myself first and foremost as more into my multidimensionality expansiveness. So I feel more than many, I have an acceptance that this is fleeting, this human experience. Even if this timeline were phenomenal and I lived out a course of 120 years or something, still fleeting. It's like going to fly by in a split second. So no matter what plays out in this timeline, even though it's going to continue to get more and more difficult in a lot of ways, because we're really on a testing last timeline for a final graduation, and we've opted in. Nicole, you wanted to be here, and that goes back to what I was saying about get into the acceptance of your body and your experience, because the imposition of hopelessness, false thought forms, suicide tendencies, all of these AI hacking that's going to be pushed more and more, and already is, You know, we see this a lot with the teens in cities. That is the inverted AI working to overlay your consciousness. We wanted to be here. We chose to opt in. Yeah, it's getting difficult. Yeah, there's still going to be a lot of difficulty ahead. And there's a ton of amazing beauty. There is so much here in both extremes. And all of it is an incredible experience, right? So we have to work to clear out that judgment of the duality, move into the integration of all of it, know that we wanted to be here. And it's important that we're here. We need to be here. Gaia needs us. We need each other, you know? And that is what I want to focus on, because Nicole, honestly, for me personally, I do perceive that shit's going to get a lot more difficult. Okay. That's just how I see it. This is the timeline where, as a collective universe, we say enough is enough. This is a freaking free-for-all. It's ridiculous, okay? And we're putting our foot down in a really big way, on a really more expanded level, and saying, you know what? All of these demonic principalities and the AI and the regressive races and the Saturnian and the Jupiterian and the sibling rivalries and all of this shit, enough is enough. You know, we have to take responsibility for our creatorship, see that we have assisted to create this through experience, and command back our authority. We have to write the inverse. Gaia needs our assistance. Tara needs our assistance. Yes, I want to give Gaia a big hug. He says, exactly. You know, Sovereign Key, Lauda Leon, who she, you know, to me is a crone. I look at her as a teacher and a mentor. She just put out her last video that speaks so specifically to the importance. She's talking about how the map of the world is changing right now, fast. You know, I know that the magnetic North Pole is moving much more quickly than it's supposed to. So we're watching the geographical surface of the Earth shifting rapidly. And I'll let you know, watch her videos so you get clear on, but she's talking about how important it is for us to remember the real. Remember the real organic experiences. Remember your true organic world, your true organic body, you know, the animals, the birds, the insects, the plants, the places you've traveled, you know, the feeling of water, the real sun, back when we had the experience of the true golden sun, you know, in the 80s, through the early 90s. These experiences that are organic, that are not the hack, because they're working to take that away, right? We've talked about this plenty with the Mandela effect. And we have to remember, integrate, integrate, integrate. Keep the organic alive. It's really, really important. Thank you, Christiana. Okay, so back to my notes here because I want to wrap up here in a minute. So pull in the experience with Tara more and more. Tara is, you know, the original template of this planet pre the inversion. She is connected to her experience as an unconditionally loving nursery, as we are the students of her nursery. She has so much power, so much love, so much ability to reset our frequency, our body, and so much to share with us. She also has access to all of the blueprints and templates of the original species. You know, so many of them have left in hordes and are still being pushed out and leaving. They're over it. And you know, we need to connect more and more into that organic true experience of Tara and pull that into our experience. Bring in the organic to counter and dissipate the overlaying of the false, of this crap virtual holographic template that's just trying to leach in and seep in. You know, we talk about purging the negative black goo a lot. It's the same thing. It's working to kind of consume and overtake. Push it out, get it out. Remember your organics. Work to counter your virtual experiences. You know how incredible it is? Isn't it incredible how difficult it is for us to at least have equal experience in the real in one day? It's so difficult for so many of us to have an equal amount of time in nature or in something true and real away from our technology. So, you know, and working to balance, always super simple physics, balance with equal opposite energy to neutralize. You know, try at least in a quarter for every hour that you're at the computer, work to have 30 minutes outside or with your pet or whatever. Really, really important. We are giving ourselves to the tech. I am a culprit of it. You know, I wish, I mean, and we're being forced into it right now, right? We're being forced into this virtual experience. So work to counter it in any way you can. Start cooking, put your hands in flour, paint something, go laugh with a little child, whatever it is. I don't care. It's really, really important. It's more than just helping you feel connected with nature. It's you reclaiming the organic DNA coding and sequencing of this consciousness. Because we are here now at a battle for the consciousness. That's what's happening. Okay, so I think that might be everything I want to cover for today. And I just want to remind you, let's stop giving away our codes. Okay, let's really take care with this and take some responsibility to get more aware of when you're being hacked and they're working through you to not only take your coding, but to take the coding of others that you're engaging with. Really important, okay? We have to take responsibility. If we know that we're not able to command our authority, work to protect others around you and don't let it come through you to take it from others, okay? If you guys have any other questions, please leave it there. I'm going to reiterate, if you'd like to sign up for the Dream Interpretation Astral Projection course, it's going to be starting its first week of 4 weeks tomorrow, Saturday, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. We'd love to have you. It's going to be a virtual Zoom group, a great group, wonderful, fun people. And that is 210. You can book it jupitersoundscape.com/workshop-1. Hey guys, please help me out. If you want to support me, please share this video. It'd really help me to get this stuff around. It takes you 5 seconds. If you're feeling really giving, take 20 seconds and share it on another social media platform. I would really love to grow this channel. It really supports me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.